Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carolyn Merrick, Program Coordinator here at the Center, and we welcome you to our second installment from the Community Climate Collaborative, or C3. Today's talk is called Taking Climate Action Personally, Tips for Saving Money and the Climate at Home. With us today, we have a new hire, wonderful new person at the C3, Latricia Giles, and she is their Climate and Equity Program Manager. So Latricia is going to speak to us today about how to reduce waste, how to save money, increase your health, help community reach our emissions reduction targets, and whatever else she has in store. So I'm turning it over to Latricia. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And I really appreciate this opportunity to come and speak to y'all today. I know that y'all could have been doing a lot of other things, but I really appreciate you coming, especially to hear the newbie at C3 come and present to you. So give me one quick second and I will be getting my slides up for y'all. How is that looking to everyone?
Good.
Okay, great.
Good.
So, as Carolyn said, today's talk is about taking climate action personally and covering several different avenues and aspects of that. So let's get started. So today's game plan for the next, few moments that I have with y'all today, we're going to be talking about, first of all, who C3 is, making it personal, the home energy challenge, some local success stories, and then of course, how you can get involved. So here's this lovely team of people that I am joining and co-laboring with here in Charlottesville as I am making my journey to Charlottesville. So this is the staff here at C3. And I just want to go over briefly what our mission is. So that kind of sets the tone for what we're doing. It's a cleaner planet starts right here. Our mission is to catalyze climate action at the local level through programs, research, and policy advocacy, at the same time addressing longstanding energy inequity in our community. At C3, we are striving to help everyone see their part in a climate solution. So here are some of the goals that we have set for ourselves and the community to kind of galvanize behind. One of the greatest things is reaching 45% emission reductions by 2030. We also want to broaden the tent, that's me coming here talking to you today about why we're taking this personally. Some other things that we are high priority is addressing energy and transportation inequities. But we also want to be able to create a replicable model that not only changes the landscape of Charlottesville, but the state of Virginia and our nation and globally. Sorry, my cursor here doesn't want to go when I tell it to go. So I just wanted to give y'all a quick local snapshot of a local government study that was done on the respective years that you see. So in 2016, the city emissions, as you can look, it's 30% basically for emissions that we produce as a resident. And if you're living in the county, from the 28 same type of study survey, 28% it does come from the residential area as well. And what does that look like when we're kind of breaking that down? So these are some of the ways. Clearly, we have to have some place to be, some place to stay. So our housing is part of that. When we're heating and cooling our homes and cooking food and using other devices in our home, that leaves or takes up some of our emissions. When we got to get around and we're using other options other than maybe our feet or some other things like bicycles or just other activities to get you from point A to point B. If you're using your car or public transportation, that's using emissions as well. Think about the things you purchase. All of the material you buy, your clothes, your shoes, those things contribute to that as well. And then of course, even with food, when we purchase it because we know we need it, but when we purchase sometimes that like I have the habit of doing. I overbuy things because I may not check my list of what's in my fridge, and I end up wasting food. So those things all contribute to this big old thing we got going on. So give me 1 second. So before we get into the rest of the talk, I just want to see if we have a little quiz. It's not going to be super competitive. So please, if you don't know the answer, it's okay, because this is just trying to gauge where you are with some of the general information that actually contributes to this talk that we're having today about climate action. And I know that I won't be able to see the answers that are there, but Ms. Carolyn, if you could help me moderate this section, I would just read in the answers from the chat box, if that would be cool. Okay. So first question, it's about LED use percentage. So how much do you think that they use less energy than an incandescent light bulb? Let's see some of your answers.
So you can just write it in the chat and I'll read it out.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so we've got some answers coming in. 75%.
Okay.
2 people said 70, somebody said maybe 50 or less. 75 seems to be the big one.
75 is correct. 75%. So all of you, good job, good job. Next question. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to read it, but the box was there. So according to researchers, a typical American household has how many devices drawing power at all times? Let's see some of your guesses. I'll be interested to see where you are.
15, 25, 35, or 50. So we have somebody said 25. I'm going to say C. Somebody had at all times, question mark, 25.
At all times.
Somebody else said 50, 25. So we have a couple 25s. I'm 35. Well, not, yeah, and a 50.
Well, the answer is drawing at all times. This is 50.
Ooh. Even when it's off, it's drawing off power?
Even when it's off, yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right, next question. This was an interesting one for me. So by reducing meals with beef or lamb just once per week for a family of 4 is the same as taking the average car off the mile for up to how many miles that you believe?
Wow, as far as emissions go?
As far as emissions go, yes. How many miles would it be from a car?
Kath says 2,000 plus. See anybody else have a guess? 1,000? 2,000?
It's actually C.
1,500. Oh, Joan Chapman got it.
Is that, and just imagine that's just reducing, replacing it once.
Wow.
And so our last question of our quiz, you can improve the fuel efficiency of your vehicle by up to 14% if you do A, use a higher octane, B, obey the speed limit, or C, reduce idling.
We have obeying the speed limit, obeying the speed limit, obeying the speed limit, and obeying the speed limit, and reduce idling, and obeying the speed limit.
Honestly, yes, it is obeying the speed limit. I was able to get my wife on this one. She thought it, for some reason, using higher octane. And I was like, oh, no, it's just obeying the speed limit. And that is something that she actually does. So it was surprising she didn't get that right. So now we're going to get into the section of taking action. It kind of went ahead too quick, but you got to see a little bit of what I wanted to show you. So taking climate action personally for me, as you can see, I have some images. I have images of my loved parents. I have a picture of my family with me and my wife. I got my dog, some of my div school colleagues who I love dearly, and just other nieces and nephews. That honestly is what taking climate action personally is for me. It means to me. The family is our future. So I would just want you to take or even think a moment about the pictures that you have in your homes, the pictures that you have in your respective maybe workplaces, or just even that you carry around in your wallet of loved ones or have on your cell phone. That is what taking climate action means for me. Um, I will say I'm a new adapter, I would say, to the climate action game. Before I didn't have the same zeal, and I didn't really understand why it was such a thing until in my third year of my divinity school program, I was in a class called Watershed Discipleship. In that class, the professor had really asked us to examine our home origins or our home watersheds. Now, I'm a native of New York City. I'm from the Bronx, and I had to examine the Bronx River watershed. I hadn't lived in New York to this point for many years, but I thought it interesting as I went back and thought about my childhood, and even going to visit now how things have changed, even with our water systems. I thought New York used to have the best water in the world until I went home and I was like, oh, this doesn't taste as good as it used to. That's because they've been changing reservoirs. When I had to examine my home watershed of origin, I learned about the very large and glaring health disparities that the people of the Bronx, the one particular borough, has some of the lowest rated health outcomes in the state of New York. Especially when you think you're living in such a metropolis like New York City, that you have access to fresh food, we have food deserts. When we're thinking about healthcare access and benefits, there are like doctor deserts. Really, there may be. I don't know. It was just an eye-opening experience, and sometimes it makes me feel some kind of way knowing that when we're not, or we haven't been as a collective society, been looking at the ways in which climate is real, it's taking away from that picture of you and your family and future generations to come. The reality is the effects of climate change we may never feel, but we have to do our part now to make sure that we can at least slow down the effects that will happen if we don't do what we need to do for our future. So I don't have any children personally, but I love my little nieces and nephews that you see in the picture. I I want the best for their outcomes and their futures. I want the best outcomes for their children's futures and their children's futures. But if we're not heeding what's happening by taking action, I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be, and we all have the individual choices to make. But as we're doing so, I mean, just inviting you to realize, you know, it can start with us, and that's the good thing about taking action, is putting one foot in front of the other and taking new steps. Just like in the moment for me, it was a realization that I had to take the intersections of climate seriously, but also seeing the other areas of injustices and weaving those together and ensuring that I am taking the right step by doing what my part is. And honestly, my parts have been learning. I've been doing research. Also, as we'll get into it, we'll see a little bit about our home energy challenge and the other ways that you can take those next steps. But we have to we have to really just take a look around, even with our local weather patterns, even with I'm learning about Charlottesville in the ways in which it has it's getting too hot, and heat islands and all of these things that you'll hear. We can all make a difference, and we can all, as we move on and see our home energy challenge, I'll help you to really discover how it can help move you and some of course, the most budget friendly ways to those that can do more. But it's just, let's take some time to like really put those pictures that we have and hold dear to our hearts. And as we're talking about what actions look like, let's hold them in our imaginations and our realities. So here's a little bit about the home energy challenge. For me, like I said, it's really simple, taking these next actions. So what that means is you. You have a social network. You have power of connectivity to those who are loved. Now, when I say loved ones and I say family, I also mean friends, because sometimes you can't always choose the ones who you want to be in contact with, and that's okay, because I have a few of those on my family too. But as far as making sure that you and your social networks are able to drive change on that personal level. So what that looks like is, especially in today's world, you have a power party option that can definitely be virtual. It doesn't have to be anything in person. But even if you are, as you come back into the center in different spaces, I would love to help host power parties for you as you gather teams, or even if a team isn't your thing, this is also something that you can do as an individual and still contribute. The next step, as I said, is working teams or solo. Then the next step, take action, and then celebrate. The thing that I really like about the home energy challenge is what you see listed here are just 6 small to large options that you can choose. But the good thing is we have well over 60 different actions that you could take at any time that fits various things. So I'm going to show a little bit. This shows how you can access our online platform, which is cvillechallenge.org. But you can go there, and this is what kind of houses the full challenge. We set goals, and then as you see, it can also tell you the measurements by the ton, which was reduced in certain times. So the more you participate by doing your actions, the more points you and your team can earn, the much larger result in the reduction of not only reducing your carbon footprint, but also that of our local area, of the city of Charlottesville and our county. And as I was saying, there is something for everyone. So I don't want you to think that, oh my goodness, it's the internet, I got to get on and try to figure out how to do that. That's just a component of it, but there are things that you can do. So I'm going to say I'm a more budget conscious person. So if I was to look into that category of things, you know what? You have a say so. And guess what? One of the things you can actually do is volunteer at C3. And we actually are doing things when we talk about having a say so that can help you, even no matter where you are in your walk, as if you're a climate warrior, or if you're just like me. When I first started, I didn't know what was going on, and I kind of just had to figure it out. You can come to C3, and we're there to walk with you. As the residential climate and equity program manager, my goal and focus is you as a community coming together. So if that's taking it to City Hall, or writing letters, or making calls from your home, there are different actions that you could take, even volunteering at C3. But if you're also like me, now I haven't had a chance to bike or walk to the center yet, because I haven't fully gotten to Charlottesville. But that's one of my favorite actions to do. I love to take long walks, especially for my health, to make sure that I'm keeping stress down, to just make sure that I'm doing the things that I need to do. And you know what? In my house right now, it's a little bit electrified, because I wanted to make sure I had good lighting for y'all and make sure that I looked beautiful. But the good thing is, honestly, just turning things off in your home. So when you're home and you're not in the room, simply turn the light off. And with our home energy challenge, taking those actions, they'll be then magnified within the app that we have. And so say you have a team. So I see if it was a team of me, Carolyn, and Terry, we'd earn points just simply making sure we did those actions and reporting that we did those actions. And even if you just want to have accountability partners with the local community, that's what it's there for. So the next hypothetical family that I did want to show is the Jones family. And I only say hypothetical because it's not my name typed up there, but the actions that the Jones family in this scenario are some of the steps that I have taken for me personally and my own family. And this is also going to give you just the kind of a breakdown of what it could look like as we're reducing our carbon footprint and our uses of metric tons. So deciding to eat beef once in a week instead of twice. And I know that in our quiz that we kind of talked about that. So I can tell you an action that, and this is literally prior to, it's been in my conversion walk. Now being able to be on the challenge, this is how it can look in my mind, because I know some of us are people who need to have numbers in front of them to see that we are making an action. So for me as an individual, my family and I decided to do what we, and I know it's called some other places, Meatless Mondays. So my friends and I, instead of and of course prior to COVID, we would get together in a communal sense, and everybody would bring together a little dish, but it would be meatless. We would have no meat. And then the next thing that we did from those Meatless Mondays is, when you're going and hanging out with your friends, someone has to clean up. So we're actually very big on recycling here. Where I live on the campus of Wake Forest University currently. We do a lot of recycling and a lot of composting. But because one of my good friends works in a local community garden, the composting that we do each week with each other, they then collect the bag of compost, and then they're able to use that at the local community garden that they work at. And for me, that was just a simple savings because it doesn't take anything from me to recycle. But you see in real terms what that could look like as far as your impact that you would then have on reducing your emissions and also savings per month if you're having to pay for your recycling and trash pickup. Another thing that I've done in the past is definitely changing out my lights with LED lights. The beautiful thing is I got in a couple of years ago one box. So this tells you also how long these lights last. I have not had to purchase light bulbs in years. I got a box from my local company here. They gave me this box of light bulbs, 5 years. I promise you, you will never have to worry about lighting anything. I literally have not changed a light bulb in my home prior to that for years. So definitely changing that, and that investment can vary depending on different programs that you may be able to take advantage of within our local communal city and state context. But it can be from zero to however much you invest. But you can see that the yearly savings with an investment of just $44, if you had to purchase them, can averagely save you roughly $150 a year. I don't know if you know about me. I like any kind of savings I can get, and a savings that lets me get over $100 makes me dance. So that is one thing. And then also changing your thermostats out, getting some more energy, star efficient things. And I know that connectivity can sometimes be a crazy thing. So it just depends on how you're feeling about doing these installations. But you can have just a simple unit, or like some people that I know, they have their whole home connected to one system, and it's beautiful. So depending on your comfortability and savings and wanting what you want to put in and what you get out. And finally, as you can see, the total savings, they not only saved money, but they reduced their local carbon impact, which is what we really need to get down. We want to save money, but we also want to continue to save our local communities and our global world. And when you measure it, I love this shirt. Terry first told me about it when I got to C3. If I could lose 5,000 pounds, if I could lose 5 pounds, I would probably wear this shirt regardless. So that is just some more measuring aspects of what you see when you are able to remove that much weight off of your carbon footprint, which imagine if everyone, like I said, just took a few actions. If all of us could lose 5,000 pounds, imagine where we could get to our goals much faster. And again, tips to success, you can take the action. So I'm going to say your first action was coming here today to hear me talk about climate and why to take it personally and why I've taken it personally. And I hope that I've been able to help you craft the narrative of why you should take it personally. But in relation to our home energy challenge and other things, it's really simple. Join a team, fill out your energy profile. You'll get your data. You can analyze it real time. You complete those actions, and we can all be on a better way to losing our 5,000 pounds. So I briefly wanted to go over with you just some local success stories so that you can see what action looks like when you start with your first step. So we have the Deli family, and their action was deciding to go from using their family car all of the time for commuting to using public transportation. So they were able to use the regional connections by Jaunt to come from the Crozet area. And by reducing their commute time, it was able to be more productive because, okay, well, now someone's doing the driving for me. They were able to, I know if you're not working per se, you are like, I get to finally relax. I can go see my friends. I can just rest on this commute up. Or in this case, this family, they were, the mom is working. She had to get some stuff done. She had some emails to get done before she got into the office prior to this COVID thing, was able to get work knocked out. And then that leaves more time for family because now when she comes home, it's one less thing to worry about. Work has been done. Or if you're going out to visit your friends and you're going to have a shopping day, you can get back on the bus and go home and just relax. By also doing that, they were able to reduce their driving time and avoid wear and tear on their family vehicle. And once again, I love my savings. So they were able to save over $700 a year on gas just by switching to public transportation on one family vehicle. And they, by doing that, reduced their local carbon emissions by almost 2,000 pounds annually, driving on public transportation versus having their extra car on the road during a busy time and putting more out there. So this is an example of another family who kind of also worked with transportation, but this was getting themselves some wheels. They decided to purchase a new car, and by doing so, they purchased an electric vehicle, taking advantage of a $4,500 federal tax credit with the purchase of their vehicle in 2019. Now, please note that there are some different things as the years have gone on, but we do have some information, and I will make sure to point that out in our resource guide. Also, the Hill family know that their car can be charged throughout various locations here in town or throughout the county, or you can charge it at your home. And what made them a little bit extra special, I will say, is they did install solar with their purchase, but because of that, they were able to charge their car for as little as $1 per day by having solar and the combination of an electric vehicle. Once again, I don't know about you, but if you are using a vehicle to drive around right now, gas is going up. So being able to charge for as little as $1 per day sounds pretty good when you're able to make those changes necessary. The next and last families that we have to talk about are the Mclean and the Purdue families. Now, these are two different respective families, but they did take a similar action. And by taking the action of installing solar panels on their home, they were able to take advantage of a 30% federal tax credit at that time as well. They also have utility bills that average around $7 per month with the installation, and with the combined installation and some of the energy efficient improvements that we were talking about earlier in the Jones scenario, that created immediate savings for that family. So the home energy challenge. If it's something that compels you, that draws to you, and you really think that it's something that you would like to be a part of, I'm going to have some of my contact information available at the end of the slide, that we would love to get a team started at the center. So if you are one of those people who feel that you are a climate warrior and you can lead the masses, guess what? I want you. But even if you're just someone who's like, Latricia, I don't know what happened. I just kind of stumbled onto this talk and you sounded like you knew what you were talking about. I kind of want to do something too. I'm also here for you. Because my philosophy is we all have to start somewhere. And so my job and my personal mantra is we are all here collectively, and I'm here to journey with you through this walk, because we are all here as co-journeyers in this thing that we call life. And no matter where we are, no matter where we come from, we're collectively joined. And I want to make sure that you get the information that is best for you to take what actions you have. So after you decide if you would like to do that and you want to have a team, so you can get some of your best buds, pals, and get them together and get a team going, great. If you want to do it by yourself, great. I'm still going to be here for you. After we do that, though, we have to set a goal. So we're going to set a goal of how many pounds we want to collectively lose. So, it's like exercise. I'm not going to go out there and say, oh, I'm going to lose 5,000 pounds by the end of May. The reality is that that probably won't happen for me, but I can start with a baby step. So if you're comfortable with starting with 5 pounds, let's see what actions we have that can start out there. But if you want to take those bold actions and you're a go-getter and you live on the edge, we have some high value things that you could do as well that will reduce that 5,000 pounds. But that's the beauty of this challenge. It's not only set up for where you are like mentally, as far as like, I'm here at this action. It's also set up to be budget conscious. We know that some people are living on a fixed income. That's my scenario. We know that there are some people who have opportunities to do more in their giving and in their capacity. And so there are options for everybody along this journey. We're going to take that action. And then the big thing that we're going to do at the end is we're going to all report back and celebrate the wins, no matter how big, no matter how small. And because, it's the age of media and photos, we would love to see the photos that inspired you throughout your journey. And like I said, even if it's turning off the light, I would love for you to capture a picture of you turning that light switch off and keeping it off and then saving you some money at home. So this is the cool section that I was saying that we do have available. We have a more helpful resources kit on our website at C3's website that you can go into that will give you some different tips. So if you are someone who is resourceful and loves to do things on your own, and we have a DIY home energy checklist that you would be able to use and utilize. The point where I want to really take y'all is the local, state, and federal financial incentives. Those are going to be some of the places that you can, especially if you're budget conscious and you're wanting to learn about some of these changes that can affect you and where you can get your local, state, federal credits, please visit that site. And if you're wanting some new wheels and you want to get out there on the road, we also have information about electric vehicles as well. So this is the time that I have been dreading and wanting. Questions.
Oh my.
Mm.
Well, I have unmuted or allowed you all to unmute yourself. So if anybody has any questions, you can either type them in the chat or you can just ask them out loud. Yes, I see Bernard Taylor. Did you have a question or comment?
Well, it was not a question about this. We are in Barbados.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have a new granddaughter here, and so much of what you're talking about is already being done here. No single use plastics are banned. My son actually has a water farm where it's almost like a dehumidifier with the air that makes water, and it's completely combustible and the bottle completely. Amazing, right? So there are things being done. Yeah, and Bernie and I have been committed to this for a long time. But my question really is, can you hear those buses? Are you okay? Can you hear a lot of background noise?
No, you're
I
good.
don't hear anything.
Then I'm going to leave myself
Unmuted.
So
Great.
we live at Lake Monticello, so we're not part of the Seaville community, and there really are not a lot of my friends that have a real commitment to this whole thing with recycling. But we do. We compost, we buy organic, we buy local, we use the bike when we can. We try many different things. We're basically vegetarians, so most of that is falling into place. But I applaud what you're doing. It's wonderful. It is just such a great thing.
Well, I applaud what you're doing by just taking the actions. And even if your friends aren't on board, just keep doing what you're doing, because that's all you're doing, the best that you can do. And you know what? It'll pay off. It'll rub off on them. I know it, because I will tell you, as part of my conversion story, it really was an act of community. It wasn't just me. So it was my professor introducing the material. But at the then time, my lovely wife now really encouraged me to really rethink the ways in which I was thinking about climate. I'm not gonna lie, at first I just thought it was a bunch of tree huggers. Like I was like, I don't have time for this. Like this is too much. This is not what I'm here for. There's other issues that I really can be concerned with. But with her encouragement, because it's something that was near and dear to her heart prior. And then, like I said, I will say I had a really good friend group at my divinity school that really encouraged me to really challenge those things, but also understand that I could then use the same things that I was fighting for in other areas. So for me, I before I came to C3, I fought a lot. I did a lot of housing justice work, canvassing work of that nature, making sure that people had information about they can you afford to live, like not getting evicted. But guess what? When we think about it, those same very things about that happen in housing justice happen in climate justice areas. There's no intersection. So when we think about communities now being affected by climate, we can think about right now in Charlottesville, heat is a real thing in communities that have been redlined, communities that have been pushed to particular geographically unsafe places like floodplains. Those are all things that are interactive and weave with the notion of why we still need to fight for justice, period.
Right.
Climate justice is just, yeah, you might have more of an entryway and you might like it a little bit more, but the sooner we realize that there's no intersection and people just need to know that we need to have justice for all, then, you know, we have some work to do. But I had to myself remove that blind spot and understand that it's very important work. If I tackle it from housing, if I tackle it from climate, if I tackle it from racial injustice, if I tackle it from like gendered discrimination, no matter where I'm coming from, it all comes back to, guess what? We all breathe air. We all breathe air. We all share this collective, beautiful thing that sustains us. So it's very important that we understand that, you know, the action we do, like you're doing right now with your friends, you're doing the action, so you keep doing it. No one can tell you nothing wrong. You're doing what your part is. Any other questions? Or now I will say this is my very first presentation, so I'm happy if y'all want to take it easy on me.
Now I got a question. I see some thumbs up from folks. I do have a comment that is interesting. My husband and I were just talking this morning about, I did something where the garbage truck was coming, the trash truck was coming. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a little bit of trash. I want to put it in there. You know, like I said, that's from my father. And he said, well, back in the 70s when there was an oil crisis, which I'm sure a lot of you will remember, his father got on this kit, lights out, lights out. If you leave a room, lights out. But prior to that, they were just burning all the time, these incandescent bulbs. And so just small actions like that can really make a difference and change you. I mean, because my husband said after that, he drove our kids crazy, you know, lights out, lights out. But it makes a difference, you know? So
it really does.
Small start, but yeah. Anybody else, any comments or questions? And I see Terry put in the chat some information because, yeah.
I just had to step out, so I missed the last couple of minutes. But I just want to say I'm really pleased to learn of the Community Climate Collaborative. I'm relatively new. I'm relatively new to the Charlottesville area, and so that's it. I mean, I've already done, you know, the light bulbs. My mother was one of these lights out people. Don't waste water. Close the refrigerator. You know, so I think I'm doing okay on that stuff. But there are, you know, there's always something more to be done. So I just want to say I'm really happy to know about y'all. I'll come down and visit you. Because I do, this is an idea, I'll just put it out there. I like to walk. I cannot ride a bicycle anymore because I cannot fall. Mm-hmm. And Charlottesville is too hilly for a tricycle. So I walk, but it is really hard to walk in Charlottesville. I can walk to Whole Foods. Trader Joe's is a quarter mile beyond Whole Foods. It's easy, but I would be killed trying to get from Whole Foods to Trader Joe's, and I'm not willing to do that. So I think that is an area where Charlottesville, maybe, that's big infrastructure stuff, maybe. But I'd like to see this become a more walkable city.
Yeah, that's a really good. What I was going to say is we work, not a formal partnership, but we work with the Piedmont Environmental Council that has mobility and connectivity as part of their focus on the things that they do and their mission. So I know that Latricia, you joined the active mobility. I mean, connectivity and feeling safe when you're walking is so important, because out there advocating for people to walk, for people to bike. And if they don't feel safe, they're not going to do that. And so it's a really good point. And so we like to stay in lock and step with the Piedmont Environmental Council.
I definitely would say that was one of, I would say within my first few weeks actually at C3 that I kind of got involved with them. And I would say that it was a really good, informative time that I was able to spend. So honestly, it sounds like for you, Christine, a good way for you to get plugged in and an action that you can do, that is joining a local group like that and telling local lawmakers and city officials, hey, this needs to be more walkable for me because I am a part of this community and I matter just like everyone else. So if it matters to you, trust me, in that group that we discussed, there were so many people who had so many concerns about making sure there were adequate sidewalks, making sure there was an adequate green space. But the key thing, and the other part of my title, equity, is making it equitable because we all know that we are all at different abilities in our life. And like you, I would not want for you or even for my mom or my dad to try to cross busy streets that are not properly paved, that could cause you to fall, because I honestly, a few weeks ago, my mom fell, and that's a scary thing. And so I can definitely empathize and sympathize. Like, that is not what you want. So definitely.
Well, and also, you know, what got me started as soon as I got down to Charlottesville, I see people walking along the road. You know, they tend to be Black residents. They're walking along the road carrying groceries. Those roads are not safe. They're walking in areas that are not safe to walk. But if you don't have a car and the bus is going to take too long, you're going to walk. But it's not safe.
It's not safe.
It's not safe.
Well, I'm going to make sure that you have my information and everyone. So that way, this is what this is about. This is why taking climate action is personal, because look, if this is just one issue, there are many versions of this issue. You're taking the right step by even vocalizing that, so that way someone else can even understand or try to understand what's going on in the city. So thank you for using your voice here in this space. And I will definitely make sure you get contact information, because this is part of what we want. We want people to be out there advocating and becoming stronger community advocates. And you have a collective wisdom that others don't have. So we're here to learn all of the collective wisdoms of the community.
Thank you. Thank you, Latricia.
Ellie, did you want to share something?
Add a comment? Yeah, there was a great presentation, a lot of good things that people can do, and I'm also already doing some of them. But I also volunteer with a group called Citizens Climate Lobby. So if anyone's interested in doing more actions that would affect everybody in the country, we have a local chapter. We meet by Zoom right now, and for a couple more months, unfortunately. And there's little things you can do, like if you have 5 minutes a month, you can do something. If you have an hour a month, you can do something. And we'd love to see any of you join us. And I can put my email in the chat if anyone wants to get in touch with me and wants to get involved. We meet once a month, and we also, even if you don't want to come to meetings, we encourage people to call their congressman. We have a program that makes it very easy to do, because I know that's very, very effective tool to use to get some change. So hope you'll all consider that. And I will put my email in the chat in case anyone wants to get in touch with me about it.
Cool.
There was some improvement made for walking. And while they were doing it, I'm saying, what are they doing? Along 250, where it goes into Hydraulics Road, they chopped up the side of the hill, which was a lot of energy, but they put a walking area. So it actually connected another area of homes where they could come down along 250 onto Hydraulic and get the Whole Foods. Be nice if they extended that past the intersection to get to the larger shopping area. But at least there was improvement there. I don't know if anybody goes by that area, but in the end result of it is the area to walk and where people don't have to use cars. And it also connects
Yes.
communities.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was walking up the other day. I walked down, I live by Whole Foods. I walked down to Harris Teeter, and just to see what it was like, I walked up Route 29. I managed to get on the correct side of the road, but man, that was unpleasant. It was scary. And it was full daylight. And I still felt,
Dangerous.
Yeah, I think that honestly, if we're even thinking collective action, that is one great step that I think even if we just took from today, I know that it sounds concerning to me as well, because I can feel the concern that you have for that. So I think that in partnering with several people that are in this space, we can make some action happen. And if that is something that you, like I said, want to turn into a thing, I'm here for you. And I know that we just heard from the Citizens Climate Lobby as well, that has some actions that can be taken around that as well. So it sounds like we have some great partnerships already that can kind of help move us toward taking that first step, because that's honestly what it's about. It takes a little bit of passion, and sometimes it takes a little bit of fear of things that have happened in our ways to move us toward action. But however we get to that action, that's still a great place to be. Because once again, it's about making sure that our futures are better than today, that our loved ones will have a better than we might have had today. Because what I don't feel comfortable about is my little niece, or thinking about even my great nieces and great nephews from here, what that may look like for them if we aren't taking, once again, the simple step of writing to our local officials about making sure it's more walkable for all citizens. That's a good ask, because once again, we want to be equitable in the ways that we do it. So if it's not good for you, of course, it's not good for anybody else that lives in your community, which galvanizes us around the cause. And that cause is making sure we can do that. And definitely, like I said, getting involved with, like Terry said, Piedmont Environmental, that was they had a really good summit. So keep your eyes out for things like that in the community as well. Terry puts out some amazing newsletters and blogs on our website, on C3's site. So you can actually also read up about a lot of information there as well, whatever catches your fancy. Because I've spent a lot of time for the past few weeks reading past articles and blogs, because I want to get to learn about Charlottesville. So there are a lot of great resources. Once again, if you go to our website, you will find some of those resources and savings that you can find as well. And we can put that in the, can you put that in the chat for me, Terry, real quick? Thank you, because I was going to try to
Say
get
that one more time, Latricia.
If you could just maybe connect the blog, or
Oh, that's right. I'll do the blog too. Yeah, that's a great idea.
But I like this. If there are any more questions, I'm open to, I love dialogue with community members. I think it's how we get to a place of knowing each other and collectiveness.
I can say this may or may not fit, but I'll just put it out there. I am not the most efficient shopper, and yet I feel very guilty when something, gets half eaten and then it goes bad. I found out about black bear composting. I was taking my composting down to, it's the alley behind Seaville Smoke Shop, where the city has a pilot program. But then I have black bear composting. Every week they come pick up my mistakes. So I get to make mistakes, but I don't suffer guilt anymore.
Great. And I will say too, if at McIntyre, like I used to have them deliver and then, or not deliver, I used to have Black Bear come and pick up, but then I gathered a couple of friends, like were composting, we're like, okay, we'll just all take it to McIntyre once a week, or even once every couple of weeks. But the thing is, and I don't know if you know this trick, this is a trick that I learned pretty late in composting, is to put it in the freezer so that it doesn't stink and you don't get a whole bunch of bugs. I mean, you don't really anyway with those little countertop containers, but if you've got some space in your freezer, it makes it so that it's super easy to take it out if you're going already to the city,
Yeah.
So we have family in Brooklyn, and in Brooklyn, they compost. Now, you come from Bronx, right? I come from Queens. So you know what that means. They compost, they separate the cardboard, they separate the plastics and metals. So they can do it in Brooklyn. They can do it at Lake Monticello, that's for sure. So that might be something to even think about with the,
They used to do, so the building that I used to live in, they used to do it. But I'm glad to see a New York connection. I actually went to high school in Queens, Long Island City.
Long Island City, no, I know
I
well.
grew up in Kew Garden Hills.
Okay, Kew Garden.
So another New Yorker.
What are the odds?
Yeah. Wow.
We have a strong New York City bond, and that's always good. I don't want to say we're coming to take over, but we're always coming to take over.
Yeah.
Composting is one of those, like if you get a group of people doing it, like you can really see the difference in your load. And I like that guilt-free, your mistakes, because I've been known to not eat all the lettuce, or it goes bad faster than I thought it was. And so that's kind of a cool one.
Yeah.
And for those who eat meat like me, the meat, the bones, all that stuff that I would never, when I was doing my own backyard composting, couldn't do that. And this is, the other great thing about composting done by somebody else who really knows what they're doing is it gets done, but I don't have to do the work.
However it gets done, that's my motto.
Yeah.
But I know that we're coming up on time. So are there any other final questions that you have for me, or any other things that you want to put out, comments, suggestions? I'm open to all of the things.
Latricia, I missed the first few minutes of your presentation. So you are, you're with the Climate Collaborative Collection or whatever. Anyway,
Community
C3,
Climate Collaborative.
Climate Collaborative. You're here, but you're physically somewhere else, right?
Correct.
And you're managing the volunteers.
Well, I actually will be. So I just recently got the job. It's only been a month in. So I've been commuting to Charlottesville when needed, but I currently live in North Carolina. My wife is in the last semester of graduating, also from Wake Forest University. So we have some transition, but we will be in Charlottesville in roughly about 8 days. So we'll be there April 2nd. We move. So we're really
Wow.
excited about joining the community.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are definitely excited. This is a really great opportunity, not only for myself, but also to just get to learn the community. That's why I'm here today, because once again, my title is not just about residential climate, but also equity and making sure that all groups that don't traditionally maybe have the forefront seat at the table, at least with me, we're going to bring our own table and chairs and make sure that all of our voices are heard. So I think that it's a really great thing for us to be moving. It's the right time, and we're just excited to join the community. I would show you my pup, but he's sleeping. He always stays by my side, so we're all coming down, and my mother will be joining the community as well. So I hope that she'll be able to come and join y'all at the center when things get a little bit better. But yeah, my family is coming and we're excited about it.
You're coming to really good stuff, because even though we live in Lake Monticello, we're very much involved with the immigrant community in Charlottesville and other groups. But you're going to have lots of great CSAs. We have organic, non-organic. You have a group called Casa Amor, which has an organic farm, and they cater to people that have can't pay their bills and that kind of thing through social services, that they have 2 extra homes that these people live in. There's so many wonderful things in Charlottesville. I think it's going to be a great experience for you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Good for you. Good. Well, I hope we see you again.
Yes, I definitely would love to come and chat with y'all again. So you just let Carolyn know when you want me to come and show up, and I'll be there.
Sure.
Like I said, my whole purpose of this job, honestly, I do take climate, but I take equity even more serious, because that's the thing that I know that all communities do not have access to. So if there's any things that you need from a climate perspective, or just you want to learn more, like, I really am open. I did leave my email for anyone who wants. And then I can even leave, let me see, I will put my contact information as far as my phone. It's in my email as well, but I know that a lot of you may not you don't have that up. So my cell phone is my direct line. So please feel free putting that in the chat for y'all, whoever would like to set up any meetings or any calls. I'm willing to also do Zooms with y'all as well, to just talk about some actions that we could take. And like I said, anyone who wants to join a team, we are starting up the Home Energy Challenge up within the next few cycles. So whenever the center is ready, as far as when I say the center, I'm meaning you who are here and wanting to be involved, or even those who may hear this after the fact. I am open to creating a place and space for y'all to join and have fun and take action and reduce our emissions and losing pounds, however you want to say it, but just taking those actions. I'm here for you. So.